Bonjour Français bienvenue à mon blog. Welcome to my blog. Today you're going to be watching a grammar video, and in order for you to do that, you need to have this video up with a pen and the notes sheet that I gave you in class. It has a picture of a pocket watch on it. If for some reason you don't have that sheet, I need you to go back to my blog. There's an image of it below this video. If you could just print that out, then you'll be ready to get started. Today we're talking about something called le passé composé. And on utilise le passé composé quand on parle du passé, when we talk about the past. So up to this point, we've really only spoken in the present, au présent. We can say things like j'aime, je joue, je fais. And we can also talk a little bit in the future, like when we use the verb aller. So if you say je vais jouer or je vais faire, you're really using the present tense to talk about the future. But we haven't yet learned to talk about the past, so if I ask you something like qu'est-ce que vous avez fait ce week-end? What did you do this weekend? It might be a little bit difficult for you to answer because we haven't spoken in the past. Using the passé composé is very simple, and in this 10-minute video I'm going to show you how. Let's look at des exemples du passé composé. First, j'ai parlé avec ma sœur aujourd'hui. Il a fini ses devoirs après l'école. Et nous avons vendu notre voiture. If you're an observant person, you've probably noticed that I have two elements here for the passé composé, one in blue and one in red. And that's because the passé composé en français est composé de deux parties. In blue, we have the verb avoir, meaning to have, and en rouge, we have the participe passé du verbe, the past participle of the verb. Let's take a closer look at this. Okay, so in my example, I wrote j'ai parlé. In blue, we have the verb avoir, and that's conjugated to mean I have, j'ai. In red, we have the participe passé, parler, which means spoken. So when I see this, j'ai parlé, I can conjugate it, or I can translate it rather, a couple of ways. It could be translated as I have spoken, I did speak, or I spoke. So even though we have different ways of saying those in English, if I want to say any of those things in French, I have to say j'ai parlé. Okay, so if j'ai parlé can mean I have spoken, I did speak, or I spoke, what does it mean when I say ils ont joué? I'd like you to take the next 20 seconds and fill out this section on your note sheet that's off to the right. If you need more time than that, you can pause this video. Okay, so for that one you should have written, they have played, they did play, and they played. Ils ont joué can mean any one of those things. Okay, so I've told you that the passé composé in French is composed of deux parties. The first one being conjugaison d'avoir, conjugation of the verb avoir. Okay, we've used avoir many times in the past, and I'd like you to take the next 10 seconds and conjugate that on your note sheet in the section below. Okay, hopefully you've remembered that we conjugate avoir. We say j'ai, tu as, il a, nous avons, vous avez, ils ont. Okay, moving on to partie deux, that's the formation of the participe passé. And first we're going to learn how to do that with ER verbs, the most basic form of verb in the French language. So for example, let's take the verb parler. The first thing that I'm going to do to make it into a participe passé is get rid of that ER, just like I do when I conjugate in the present tense. Okay, that leaves me with parle. And on the end of it, I'm going to stick an I accent aigu, leaving me with parler. That's the participe passé. Okay, it's pronounced exactly the same way as the infinitive is. Moving on to manger. I'm going to get rid of that ER on the end. That leaves me with mange. And on the end, I put an E accent aigu, manger. See if you can do this one by yourself, désirer. Okay, so hopefully you've done just as I did above, taken the ER off désirer first. That leaves you with désir. And on the end we stick an E accent aigu, leaving us with désirer. Okay, here we have 3 practice problems that I'd like you to try on your own. First, I'd like you to say you sang using the verb chanter. Numéro 2, we have discussed using discuter. And toi, she did show using montrer. I'm going to give you 20 seconds for that, and if you need more time, just pause the video. Okay, here were the correct responses. For numéro 1, you sang, you should have tu as chanté. Numéro 2, we have discussed, becomes nous avons discuté. And finally, numéro 3, she did show, becomes elle a montré. Okay, moving on to a different kind of verb, that's the IR verbs. It's a very similar process, but we're going to add a different ending. So our first step is to get rid of that IR, just like when we conjugate. Okay, and then we're going to have fin. And on the end we add an I, leaving us with fini. Okay, another example, we have the verb choisir, to choose. I take off the IR, I get choix, and then I add an I to the end. Choisi. See if you can do this one, grossir, on your notes sheet on your own. Okay, you should have taken off the IR. That leaves you with gros. And then you add an I to the end, grossi. Okay, under that you have 3 practice problems. I'd like you to tell me how to say he succeeded using the verb réussir. 2, we have grown up. Grandir is the verb for to grow up. And numéro 3, they lost weight. That was maigrir. Okay, here are the correct responses. For he succeeded, you should have il a réussi. Numéro 2, we have grown up. Nous avons grandi. Et numéro 3, they lost weight. Ils ont maigri. Okay, the third verb subset that we're going to study today is the RE verbs. Okay, for example, we have the verb vendre, to sell. Just as before, we're getting rid of the ending, that RE. So we get vend. But this time we're going to add the letter U to the end, leaving us with vendu. So we went from E accent aigu with the ER verbs to an I with the IR verbs. Now we're using a U with the RE verbs. Okay, another example is the verb entendre, to hear. Get rid of that RE. That leaves us with entend. We add a U to the end, entendu, meaning understood. Okay, try the verb perdre. Perdre is the verb to lose. Okay, try that on your note sheet right now. Okay, you should have taken off that RE. Leaves you with pair. And then you end with perdu, the participe passé. Okay, again we have some practice. Numéro 1, à toi. I'd like you to tell me she waited using the verb attendre. Numéro 2, we have responded. The verb for that is répondre. And numéro 3, I defended using défendre. You have 20 seconds to do that now, and pause the video if you need more time. Okay, so the correct responses for that, she waited. We're going to say elle a attendu. Numéro 2, we have responded. Nous avons répondu. And numéro 3, I defended becomes j'ai défendu. Okay, let's combine them all together and see if you're able to do this. That's off to the right on your practice sheet. Number 1, I want you to tell me we listened using the verb écouter. Numéro 2, we have waited. The verb for that is attendre. Numéro 3, she does lose weight using maigrir. Numéro 4, they have responded with répondre. And numéro 5, I sung using chanter. You have 30 seconds, and again you can pause the video if that's not enough time. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead to the correct responses now. For we listened, I have nous avons écouté. You have waited. If you chose the informal you with tu, you can have tu as attendu, or if you went for the formal, you can say vous avez attendu. Numéro 3, she does lose weight, elle a maigri. 4, they have responded, ils ont répondu, or elles ont répondu if it was a group of girls. And finally, I sung is j'ai chanté. Okay, that completes our lesson on the passé composé. Félicitations, vous avez fini votre leçon sur le passé composé. So hopefully now you feel a little bit more confident using French in the past. Please write down any questions you have and bring those to class tomorrow, along with your note sheet. À demain!